Back in 2018, I was having a year or so out from my first exit, and I was in a conversation with my mum, and she said, "Son, what is it you're up to in business these days?" She kind of vaguely understood what I'd done from time to time. And so, out of that curiosity, I said to her, "Mum, I've started an AI company." She looked away, she pondered, and she came back to me and she said, "But, son, you know nothing of artificial insemination." Now, what she had heard made sense from her context. She was from a rural background, so AI didn't truly indeed mean artificial insemination to her, but I'd failed to consider the context. And I once heard that context is far more important than content. Most founders hear AI and they think that they get it. They think that writing smarter emails, producing better, faster content is utilizing the AI that we have today to its fullest extent. And if this sounds remotely like you, it was 100% like me as of the middle of February 2026. That was 4 weeks ago, as of today. And I chose, as it turns out, to take the red pill. And this podcast is all about a moment in time that is happening right now and a decision that is in front of you. I have no cause to sell. This is simply a call to arms. If you are, however, impatient, you can go to my website for the full white paper on this conversation, which is joshcomrie.com/2026. joshcomrie.com/2026. So the thesis and why I'm sitting down and talking to you today is that I believe this is a once-in-a-generation land grab opportunity. The truism that's underlying this is that power is never given. It is only taken. And I think this window is 2026, right now. What the last month has shown me is that most of you are not across this anywhere near the level that you think that you may be. So my first question for you to ponder is, how many agents have you built? If the number is zero, or if you think that an agent is still something associated with the FBI, I'd urge you to stay with me. As mentioned, what this episode is about is a call to arms. But first, I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory, why there's the case for urgency, and then some practical things at the end of the episode that you can take on and do this week. So, just before my conversation with Mum in 2018, I'd begun a company called Ambit. This was an AI platform startup. We had customers like KPMG, the Accident Compensation Corporation, ACC, Vodafone, and AI at that point in time was really hot. So much so that I'd partnered with the New Zealand Herald, NZME, and I did a nationwide sold-out tour on big stages talking about AI. I was in rooms full of smart people, really explaining what AI was all about. Now, back in those days, NZ businesses were really asleep, or foundational perhaps in their thinking around what AI was and what it could do. My controversial view is today, I believe that most still are relatively asleep. A couple of smart researchers a few years ago came up with this thing that is now called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Essentially, it says that we think that we are better, or we know more, or we are smarter than in reality we really are. And I think that's in full effect today. Many organizations think that they have transformed through this smarter email, some really basic workflows that have been handed off, some fancy content that's being produced. Now, really what they've got is a jet engine that is being used as a desk fan. It's super cool, but it's a massive, massive waste of resource. And an honest admission, 4 weeks ago, this was me too. I had a slightly more sophisticated relationship with a chatbot. Sure, I had 3 models that were on the go, different vendors, Perplexity. I was using Claude to what I believed was its pretty full extent, and obviously ChatGPT, of which I've actually shut down the latter now. But do you remember my first question? How many agents have you built? At that stage, I'd built precisely none. So my second question for you is, how many workflows have you fully handed off to that agent? If you're hesitating on either of those questions, again, my hypothesis is that you are not where you think that you are. Hey, it's Josh. Thanks for being part of the show. Most founders don't just build one thing. They build many. the company, the team, and hopefully the legacy. JB Ware in New Zealand understands that your exit isn't an ending. It's the bridge to what you build next, whether that's backing the next generation, funding what matters, or creating impact that compounds across decades. The best exits aren't measured in commas alone. They're measured in what those commas enable. Two Commas is proudly partnered with JB Ware, building wealth that works as hard as you do. 1989 is a really vivid memory for me. Ronald Reagan, the standing president of the United States at that stage, saying to Gorbachev leading the Soviet Union, "Mr. President, tear down that wall." And we know subsequently that it did. In the next 2 years before this fall of the Soviet Empire, behind the facade that we called the Iron Curtain were some strong, capable, connected, and smart men. And they were waiting and they were watching. What happened behind the scenes is that the energy assets, the telecoms infrastructure, the banking, the utilities, they were all seized by these people. Remember I said before, power is not given, it is taken. We now recognize those people as oligarchs. But in that moment, they were just the people who moved first. Now, I reckon 2026 is the oligarch moment for Western businesses. Perhaps a helpful parallel to consider this is what's known as the resource curse. Throughout the 20th century, oil was discovered in developing nations. What we now know is that locals ultimately did not get rich. They actually got poorer. The wealth flowed to those with the expertise and the speed to be able to take and utilize those resources. And yet, the whole time, the resources were underneath the feet of the people that occupied that land. Access wasn't the bottleneck, capability was. Right now, that same dynamic is at play. ChatGPT is free, Claude is free, the resource is available on your desktop. The capability concentration is the problem. If you're not sure about this, well, here's some kind of proof in action. If you follow the stock markets, you may have heard of the SaaS apocalypse, SaaS being the software apocalypse. In February 2026, in one day, 24 hours, $285 billion was wiped from largely SaaS stocks, software as a service stocks. That's more than New Zealand's entire GDP. Since then, there's been well over $1 trillion of value that has disappeared. It's been eroded from those types of stocks. The market has priced in this disruption, but most business owners have not. So over this duration, and what really shipped in 6 weeks, and if you were like me, or if you're on the peripheries of being like me, people interested in this stuff, then you will have seen that there's just been a barrage of information and a constant flow of exciting, incredible new things. And so this may have got lost in the woodwork for you. But there were some critical things that happened over that duration. Claude Cowork shipped, Perplexity Computer, and the now potentially for you famous OpenClaw. Basically, AI moved from the cloud, off-premise for you, onto your desktop. That AI, if you enable it to do so, is able to read files, build spreadsheets, write reports, and critically handle multi-step workflows while you're off doing something else. This is not you sitting down having a meeting with a smart colleague, which is what we've been using AI for to date. This is you actually building a team of agents that are doing the work for you. And the shift is essentially from assistant to agent. The AI is doing the work, not answering the questions. And this happened in the background while most people were still learning about how to be better prompters. So what does this mean if you're in business today or thinking of getting into business? I like to use an analogy, and I call it Caden and Jaden. So these are two 18, maybe 20-year-olds. They're sitting at their parents' dining room table. They're digital natives. They've had access to cell phones and technology from a very, very young age. So they're very natural in utilizing this technology. The competition that they represent is not the firm that's across town. They are emerging disruptors. What they will likely build, in my opinion, is something that costs around 1/10 of the current cost to deliver, and it'll be sold at, I reckon, about a third of the current price to consumers. These kids, these people, they're not held back by legacy systems, legacy teams, or legacy thinking. They have a laptop, they have a subscription, and they have a willingness to disrupt. They also, probably really importantly, have nothing to lose. And you probably do. Here's a great example for you to ponder. Harvey AI was founded way back in 2022. This was by a completely raw university graduate, Harvard Law graduate, and a deep mind researcher. They set about disrupting the institutions that are legacy law firms. Today, that company, 4 years later, is valued at $11 billion, and it has literally thousands of customers around the world. The law firms thought that they had a moat: relationships, insight, experience, contracts. But these century-old law firms have been massively disrupted by new technology. And this is going to flow into many, many other industries, I believe, as well. So here's a couple of traps that I think you should perhaps be aware of and maybe consider whether you could slot into these categories yourself. There's the free tier trap, which is you have constructed your own knowledge and experience of artificial intelligence based upon the free version, or you are still using it the same way that you did a year or so ago. So essentially, you're basing your assessment of the tools on old or inferior models. What you have seen is the crappy demo. It's not the product. So it's really the least capable version of these things, and that model will be holding you back. The other trap is potentially the tool shopping trap. As I mentioned, there's been a barrage of new technology released almost every day, it seems. And so what people are doing is they're trying a new tool every day for a couple of weeks. So they've tried 30 different tools, and ultimately there's zero workflows that have been built. And the problem was really never the tool itself. The problem is that the user hasn't defined the pain that is really worth solving. So ultimately they become busy, not productive, and they're really just exploring, not building. Well, what do you do about all this? As I mentioned, go visit joshcomrie.com/2026 for a full breakdown. But at a super high level, there's 3 steps that are available in front of you. Step 1, pick your single most expensive recurring problem, the thing that you have people doing for hours, maybe days, every single week or every single month inside your business, that ultimately is very human-centric, but it is also very, very repetitive. This thing eats time, money, and or quality every single week without fail. Step 2, get clear on what the ideal outcome is. What does solved actually look like? Be really, really specific with this as well. And also, really importantly, assign a measure. In other words, you're spending 3 hours a day on accounts payable processing. You believe that by implementing a tool, you can reduce that to 20 minutes a day. So you've essentially cast a hypothesis and you've got a measure attached to that hypothesis. Step 3, go and find the tool that fits. Probably one tool, one problem, one workflow. Build it, critically, as I said, measure it, and then move on to the next one. A really quick, easy hint for this is go and get yourself a paid account to Claude, download Cowork onto your desktop, and start understanding how to build agents in this natural language environment. Back to the point, start with the problem first, and then go to the tool second. It's always a helpful kind of approach to take. There's an ancient Arab proverb: alone, I go faster. Together, we go further. If you've gotten to this point in the conversation and you think this is a very capitalist story, I'm about to change that narrative slightly. My encouragement to you is to bring people with you on this journey. The oligarchs took everything. This is not the only way. I reckon you can move fast and bring people with you. Bring your parents, take your partner, your spouse, and obviously, please do take your team. The leader who elevates everyone Build something no solo operator can match. So I reckon pick 3 things this week, not this quarter. Pick the most expensive recurring problem, 1 hour, and point AI at it. Have a session with your team. Everyone should bring along a workflow to hand off. This is a working session, not a presentation. And then sit someone down you care about and show them the thing that lit you up. Expand the circle one by one. Tina and I had Code Camp Day, and we're extending this out into Code Camp Week. We're going to involve others in this journey, with the idea being that we can share our learning and bring other people along on what is literally bringing this magic to life. Back to Mum. She's come a long way. Whilst she's not yet offloading her gardening workflows to the AI, the context has massively shifted for her. She's in conversations with her bots every day. She's got them trained to do different things, help her out around the house, and really importantly, keep her company as well. So the context has shifted. Has it shifted for you? Go and check out my white paper. It's called Why 2026 is the Most Important Year of This Millennium. Links in the show notes, available on the website. Go read it, and then go and do something about it. Thanks so much for listening to the show. If you've gotten this far, I reckon you've probably enjoyed it. And there's more available for you in the form of my book, 2 Commas. It's available on my website, joshcomrie.com. I've done an Audible version, which is on amazon.com, and there's a Kindle one kicking around on either of those resources as well. I've had some wonderful, unsolicited feedback from early readers. They describe it as being punchy, clear, helpful, and actionable. What it's not is a guide on how to sell your company. You can go to ChatGPT for that. It's more insightful, experiential-based, and a bit of a blend of psychology, philosophy, and what it takes to build something meaningful, and what all that means afterwards. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you grab yourself a copy.